Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So this week's video is going to be a time-lapse of a painting I did in the beginning of the year. It's a bit older footage, so the lighting in this video won't be on point, so sorry for that. But nevertheless, I wanted to share the process with you and tell you the story behind this painting, because it's a piece that is quite important to me. It's a painting I did for a very good friend of mine as a birthday present. And our birthdays are quite close to each other, and after she made me a birthday present, which was an awesome self-made sketchbook, by the way, so thank you if you watch this, she asked me to paint something for her, and I really loved that idea. In the beginning, I didn't know exactly what I want to paint. I knew some stuff and motifs that she would like, but I wanted to do something personal, something that would represent her and her passions. She's a very open and happy person and loves to play violin, so the first motif ideas came to me quite quickly. But actually, this motif is the result of an emotional conversation I had with her back then. And I asked her if I could share her story in this video, since I think that many of us may relate to her, and also because it was a big part of the painting process, in which I thought a lot about her and her situation. Some things she said and metaphors she used were really beautiful to me and so clear that I wanted to share it with you guys. So basically, it's not any kind of story where something terrible or dramatic happens. It's more a description of her mental state and her state of happiness the last years. One day she called me and asked if we could meet, and I said yes, of course, and a few days later we sat on her bed together and talked. She told me that a few evenings before everything seemed normal, when out of the blue she had a pretty big mental breakdown, like sitting on the bed and not knowing why she was crying. She said that that was the moment when she realized that something was wrong and that she didn't really notice it before, that she felt very lonely. After thinking about it, she found that the whole process started years ago, and over time it turned into a state of loneliness, which was quite unusual for her because she had always been a person that hung out with friends and other people a lot and was very happy with it. So how did it come to that? She said it started in 10th grade. At that time we were around 16 years old, and here in Germany we have 10 years of school. 4 years of elementary school, 6 years of middle school, and then 2 years for the upper level, or the Abitur. However, our school was so small at that time that it had no capacity for an upper level. So all of us in our class had to change schools after class 10. That was hard because we had a nice and close group of friends who really grew together over the years, and our class solidarity was also very good. But well, there was no other way, and that's how it works. Most of us, including my friend, went to a school nearby, while others, including me, went to schools a little further away. It was my choice, and I liked the school I chose a lot better, so it was the right decision, even if I had to go alone. I still had regular contact with my old friends, but was also lucky enough to be quickly integrated into a new group of friends where I also met my current boyfriend. But that's another story. The point is that I got along quite well with the change of school, but my friend less so. Of course, she already knew a few people at the new school because some of our classmates also moved there, but she no longer had any really close friends around. So at that point, she was starting to feel lonely. To better describe it to me, she tried to visualize her emotional state. She described it as if, when she looked inside, there was a bright, glowing yellow ball. For her, this ball was an expression of joy of life, energy, and happiness. I think this description is really beautiful and very appropriate. like a little sun that shines in you and represents your happiness in life. It's not the first time I've heard something like this and would actually describe my inner being similarly. Due to the lack of close friendship, the glow of her little sun became less and less, but she was still doing reasonably well. It got more difficult when she started her bachelor a few years later. Music has always been a great passion of her, so she wanted to study it. For various reasons, however, it did not come to that, and so of course an important dream broke away for her. She moved to another city to eventually study something else. At first she was hopeful because new university, new happiness, and she really tried to make new friends and acquaintances, but the problem was that she didn't really make connections. She had the feeling that she didn't really fit into the group of friends or that she wasn't accepted as part of the group. It seemed to her that the others were not interested in getting to know her. That must be a terrible feeling. Coming to a new university, everyone already knows each other, groups had already formed, and you are trying your best to connect, but nobody really takes notice. I'm sure many of us have felt that way before. It feels unfair, and piece by piece you actually start to feel lonely. And in her case, her life in a flat share she had put hope into was a disappointment as well. Her flatmates mostly kept to themselves, and it was more like living side by side instead of living together, despite her efforts to connect with them. Due to that, her little growing ball in her lost more and more of its glow and changed from bright yellow to a pale and muddy green. She described it as if the rays of the sun that shone through her before were step by step getting muddy and dark. And it was a gradual process. It got worse and worse, but never so suddenly that you could have noticed. Whenever she thought about it, she thought, yeah, for some reason it's not as great as it was back then, but it's okay, I guess. Again and again. So the feeling of loneliness has slowly built up in her without her or anyone else really noticing. She also told me that when she started noticing something, she didn't want to tell me right away because I struggled with some mental problems myself at that time, and she did not want to burden me further. I appreciate that, and in some situations I was very grateful for it. But there are always two sides to a friendship, and since she has supported me in my problems, of course I also wanted to help and support her as well. Being lonely and feeling lonely are two different things. And even if you know you are actually not lonely, that doesn't mean you can't feel lonely. And just because others tell you you're not lonely, doesn't mean your feelings of being lonely aren't justified. Especially when you think you have no one around to talk to, that makes it all the more difficult to actually speak to someone. So I did my best to show her that I want to be there for her. I'm very happy that she opened up to me and confided in me. After our conversation, she felt much better and thanked me for listening. It helped her because she knew that she can come to other people and talk with them about her problems, and that she will be heard and supported. So yeah, with all that in mind, it's pretty obvious how I came up with the motive for this picture. The character in this painting was not supposed to look like my friend, but of course represent her passions and her positive feelings, and just remind her of the happiness and joy that she has in her, even if she doesn't feel it at the moment. When I gave it to her and she saw it for the first time, she was blown away and of course immediately recognized the glowing ball in the character's chest and thought back to our conversation. She was really happy, and I was happy that she was happy and already felt better than before, so the present was a success. It's funny, before I made the voiceover for this video, I called her to talk about it again. And after that, we also talked about how both of us, and actually also the people around us, have grown over time and managed to get through all the ups and downs together. That's pretty cool. We have spoken about friendship many times before, especially how it is formed, and we both have the feeling that as we get older, it becomes more and more difficult to build really close friendships. Of course, this cannot be generalized, but most of the friendships we have go back to elementary school, or at least many years back. I mean, I remember a funny story of how I basically made my first friendship. That was in kindergarten, back when I had just begun going there. I don't know exactly when, but early on I saw a girl who seemed to be very nice. I went up to her and asked her directly, "Do you want to be friends?" She looked at me and answered, "Yes." And from then on we were best friends for many years. It's that easy. I don't know why it is that when you grow up it doesn't seem all that easy anymore, which is actually a shame. But maybe that's just us. I don't know, maybe it's different for you. But yeah. This is the final painting. I hope you like it, and I also hope you enjoyed this week's video and the story I told you. Share it with your best friend if you like, and don't forget to subscribe. See you next time. Bye everyone.